Handoff, Damian Williams trying to get to the edge, breaks a tackle, 35, 30, Damian Williams, 20, stays in bounds, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Kansas City. Damian Williams runs to immortality and will be remembered forever in the Chiefs' kingdom.
Tiamu stays on his feet, and he whistles one complete for a first down to Alonzo Russell.
Good snap, good place. The kick is up. It is long enough, and it is a Missouri winner. The thicker kicker connects.
I had no doubt. He's nails in practice. He's been nails all day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the ShowMeFootball.com podcast. And we're back again today to talk Chiefs versus Browns. 22-17, the Kansas City Chiefs defeat the Cleveland Browns. Oh my, what a game. That was my initial reaction after the last play. Lots to talk about today. Lots of good, lots of bad, a lot of everything. This was a crazy game all around, crazy day. But the Chiefs come out on top to advance to the AFC Championship versus the Cleveland Browns, Cleveland Browns. No, that's who they beat. Buffalo Bills. It's going to be an interesting matchup. We'll talk about it more. In fact, we'll probably record a podcast a little bit later in the week, previewing the matchup against the Bills and whatnot. But as always, today I'm joined by Connor. We're recording this a little bit later, several hours after the game. I had some stuff to do, of course, but also I hope you guys enjoyed the new intro that I made. Hopefully that one's a little bit better than the last one. I added some new clips in there, but yeah. Anyways, Connor, what are your initial thoughts on this game?
Oh wow! I bet you're not expecting what I'm gonna say. This game was a lot closer than it needed to be.
Uh-huh.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
This is just something else to add to the 2020 Kansas City Chiefs. You know, every game is closer than it needs to be. And, I mean, most of the things we say, I feel, could be applied to this game. We started off and we looked like the Kansas City Chiefs that we were promised, you know. Throughout this regular season, they've kind of screwed around, and I felt like they didn't take the regular season that seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And almost like how Draymond Green, after the Warriors only lost like 9 games in a year, he's like, we don't really care about the regular season. We know the season starts in the playoffs for the Warriors, right? That's kind of the vibe I got from the Chiefs throughout the year. And I know you kind of questioned whether or not they would be able to turn it on in the playoffs. And I'd say until Mahomes got hurt, they definitely did. And as long as that is the Kansas City Chiefs that we see moving forward, they're running it back pretty easily, in fact.
Yeah, I completely agree. I wanted to start off by saying that you know, I even tweeted out on the Show Me Football account. I said, you know, I was skeptical if the whole flipping the switch thing was real with this team, or if that was all talk. That was just a fake narrative created by the fans. But I saw it with my own 2 eyes that entire first half. But we were running away with that game before Mahomes went down, and then as soon as he did, energy was kind of sucked out of the building. You could kind of and whenever they dropped the news that Mahomes was out, he wouldn't be coming back in that game. Everyone was like, "Oh shoot! Like, you're telling me we gotta win a game that's only a 5-point difference right now with Chad Henne at the helm? Like, this is what we're gonna do?"
I mean, it seemed difficult, but as they say, anything's possible when you have the best quarterback to ever come out of Michigan.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll try to keep your Brady hate to a minimum this episode. But
I hate him so much.
You know what? Let's just start with kind of some of the negatives from the game, and let's just get that out of the way first. Then we can talk about all the crazy stuff that happened. First thing I wanted to touch on, Harrison Butker. This guy, and maybe this is a knee-jerk reaction, but if you count the missed extra point today, If you bunch that together with all of his missed extra points from the regular season, that's 7 in total, which I believe ties the record for most missed extra points by anyone in a season. That's not good, simply put. Like, I get it. He quote unquote fixed it before heading into this playoff game. Then it came back. Then he missed another field goal that was only like 30 yards out. I've been largely unimpressed with Butker this year, and I think people kind of anointed him too early after that one Chargers game where he nailed like 358 yards or something like that. Like, yeah, that was cool, but let's see some consistency. And it's been anything but that for Butker since then. And honestly, this may be a knee-jerk reaction, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs look around and maybe bring in another kicker in camp next season or something like that.
I really, really didn't want to say this, and it might be a little too knee-jerk, but I'm almost getting Tucker McCann vibes from Butker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he'll nail it from 57, but when you just need an easy chip shot, it's wide.
It's getting ridiculous at this point. It really is. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I love Butker and I really hope he gets it together, but this has been a bad season from him as far as kickers go.
Yeah. Honestly, he should be pretty happy that we won the game with Chad Henne, because if Patrick didn't get hurt, then everyone would be on Butker.
Mm-hmm.
But, Patrick getting hurt kind of took the spotlight off of him, so he's not going to get criticized as much as he probably deserves to be.
Yeah, well, because, like, there was a minute there where, it looked like the Browns maybe were going to, take the lead or whatever, or tie this thing up. I forget the exact scenario, but Butker left 4 points on the field, and if we had 4 more points added to our total, then there would be no reason to worry at the end of the game there, but there was reason to worry, and a lot of that does fall on Harrison Butker.
Yeah, they said that he made a field goal from 67 yards out in practice.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he should get a little closer in practice next time.
Yeah, honestly.
I don't understand how that happens, how you just nail it from like 60 yards, but you shank it from like 33. I feel like it's a pretty similar motion. I don't know if maybe the snap's different, because I know the snap is sometimes, when they kick the ball, it's lower on a long field goal. That's why it's easier to block. But I still feel like it's relatively the same motion, and I don't know. It's maybe I'm not an expert on kickers, but I just feel like you're doing the same thing every time you go out there. Just sometimes you have to hit it harder than others.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it, dude.
Yeah, it's definitely a concern. We'll monitor it going forward, but let's move on to another negative from this game. I'm saving the best negative for last, and if you've been listening to this show for a while, you already know what we're going to talk about. But let's start with Charvarius Ward, okay? I want Charvarius Ward off this team. This was someone that a lot of fans had high hopes for. That I'm not sure where the hype ever really came from. I thought he was pretty average. I thought he was someone who could be a solid number 2 or something like that. Fans were kind of propping him up as like, this star cornerback that, had a really great backstory, and he does have a great backstory. I'll give him that, but he's just been bad this year. Like, he's been a liability. Like, it's not even like he's been unimpressive at times to me where it's like, oh, Ward made a good play here, but he made a bad play here. He's just been bad.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to say one semi-nice thing about Ward, because if anybody knows anything about me, they know I hate Ward.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that I think Ward is extremely unlucky, because sometimes when he gets beat, they're just perfect passes and he can't do anything about them.
Right.
But at the same time, for some reason, he just seems to be a lot more unlucky than everyone else, which still makes him a liability. Lockdown Ward is not a thing. And, he's heard this because he's blocked me on Twitter for saying it, but I've been known to point out the fact that I don't think Charvarius Ward could cover a kid with a blanket. He's just that bad. He's a complete liability in the secondary. And the only corner that he's better than on the roster is Antonio Hamilton. And any longtime listener knows how we feel about Antonio Hamilton.
Absolutely. Here's the deal with Ward. I don't even know if they should resign him at this point. But I mean,
please.
They stuck him on David Njoku. In fact, if I look at it here, David Njoku today had 4 receptions for 59 yards. Pretty good day for him. He was not a factor in Cleveland's offense like at all this year before today's game. And he just abused Charvarius Ward today. And they tried sticking him on Donovan Peoples-Jones. He had Ward allowed a big catch to Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like it just, whoever they put him on, it did not work out.
I mean, who does it work out when you put Ward on him? He's not good. I mean, I guess last year he quote unquote shut down Diggs and Hopkins, but I mean, I can go into that more so. But I feel like Ward is in a similar position that Kendall Fuller was last year. You know, very polarizing corner who you could make an argument for him getting paid because there's some PFF stat that Ward is first in somehow. I don't like PFF for the most part. Like their overall grades for most positions I respect, but their secondary grades are horrible. They say Levi Wallace is the best corner in the NFL. But I'm just pointing that out right now so that when we call Clark out for having an awful PFF grade, people don't call us hypocrites. PFF is not good at grading corners. Pointing that out right now so I'm not a hypocrite. But, yeah, I feel like what's going to end up happening is Ward is going to sign a similar contract with Kendall Fuller with some, like, poverty team with a bad secondary that just can't attract free agents. Like, maybe, I don't know how much cap they have, but I know nobody wants to go to Houston. Maybe Houston overpays and gets Charvarius Ward. But I hope that Veach isn't a complete idiot and signs him to a big contract. But given the fact that DeAndre Baker is expected back next year. L'Jarius Sneed is a stud. We just re-signed Bashaud Breeland. I'm not sure how long his deal is. And Rashad Fenton has been good. No reason to bring Ward back, especially when I just have the feeling he's going to price himself out anyway.
Yeah. The last thing I'm going to say is I think they were talking about a Ward extension. A lot of people before this season, I think whatever money that they had put to the side that they were planning on giving Ward if he had a good season, they should just go ahead and offer that to Bashaud Breeland, given his market.
Oh yeah, Bashaud Breeland is a very good corner.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks that he got hurt, but if Mahomes is good to go, then Bashaud should be good to go.
Yeah, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But let's move on to one of our last big negatives from this game. Frank Clark.
Boy, I wonder who it's going to be.
Frank the Shark Clark. He tweeted out a GIF yesterday of sharks all over the water. There was blood in the water for this game. Frank Clark didn't have a single pressure today. Pretty sure he did not. That's okay. I'm going on a mini Clark rant here. Okay, so Clark, time. If you're a Frank Clark defender, time is running out for the just wait for playoff Frank Clark crowd. Time's running out because guess what? It's the playoffs now. And Clark just had a totally just zero burger in a playoff game. So there was one play, someone in particular pointed out Craig Stout of Arrowhead Pride, someone who's a defensive film analyst. And I love the guys at Arrowhead Pride. I listen to a lot of their stuff. I read a lot of their stuff. I love the people there, but he mentioned the fact that Clark sniffed out a screen on the Browns' last drive of the game, but I wouldn't give Clark credit for that at all because there was no screen there. Baker threw to an offensive lineman to try to just to throw it away because the play broke down. There was no screen that Clark sniffed out there. That was just a broken play, and Baker threw it to an offensive lineman, like to the ground where he knew he wasn't going to get it. Clark did nothing this game. And mind you, I'm not even going to mention this person's name, because shutting down Frank Clark isn't even considered an accomplishment anymore. I'm not sure if it ever was, but the Browns were on their third string left tackle today. I don't know. I know his name. I'm not going to tell you. They were on their third string left tackle, and all that needs to be said. I don't know if you guys knew, but the Browns' third string left tackle was on the Jets practice squad earlier this season. The Jets practice squad, and the Browns picked him up. He ended up playing this game out of necessity, and we had zero from Frank Clark. Absolutely zero. Our $100 million man. There's no sacks. Where's playoff Frank Clark, guys? You told me he was coming. All these fans, they said I was being too hard on Frank Clark. He's coming this postseason. Just wait. That's what we pay him for. Clark did nothing. So what's the excuse now?
I mean, it's probably going to be something along the lines of they're probably going to use the fact that the Browns had a really good offensive line as an excuse for Frank Clark being a bad football player. But as you said, third string, former Jets practice squad member starting at left tackle, Frank Clark should be smoking him. Mm-hmm. And everyone's going to bring up that quote-unquote snuffed out screen pass, but I think Tony Romo said it in the broadcast too. I'll admit I didn't have my TV up too loud because I didn't want to hear about how fantastic Baker Mayfield was for 3 hours. But from what my perspective was, what I saw and what I think Tony saw too was Frank Clark knew he was getting beat. So instead of trying to go for the pass rush, he dropped back because he wasn't going to get there anyway. And it looked like Chubb went out for the block, and it kind of broke down, and Baker tried to throw it to Chubb, and it was just a broken play that Frank Clark happened to be there. I don't think that he really snuffed it out. I think he just knew that he wasn't going to get past the unnamed left tackle, so he just kind of fell back and lucked out, kind of like a few back in the first Denver game where Locke pitched the ball over Melvin Gordon's head and right into Frank Clark's hands. He just got lucky and was in the right place at the right time.
Yes. The reason he was even there was because he was like 15 yards away from the play from trying to run around the tackle. God, I hate Clark, dude. But a lot of people, I've noticed a lot more people turn on Chris Jones as of lately too, saying, man, where's Chris Jones? Where's Chris Jones? I don't know about you guys, but I saw multiple plays today where Chris Jones, he didn't have a sack or nothing, but he clearly wrecked the play or put pressure on Baker Mayfield. There was definitely a few plays in the game where I can say that happened, but I don't think people realize that we have such a lack of an edge presence these days that Chris Jones actually is getting double teamed so much to where we can actually use the double team excuse with Chris Jones, the same one that people tried to use on Frank Clark. Guys, Frank Clark is bottom third in the league in double team rate against opposing teams. Like it's not cutting it anymore. Frank Clark has to do something.
And not only that, but you're not really going to see defensive tackles show up on the box score as much as you should see edge rushers, especially given the fact that the Browns got Joel Bitonio back and we're starting a third string left tackle. Frank Clark should have ate this game, and Joel Bitonio was probably going to keep Chris Jones in check. But what your defensive tackle is supposed to do is, they're going to get sacks here and there, but they should stop the run, and they should bring interior pressure to force the quarterback out of the pocket and make a bad decision. For the most part, Chris Jones is good at forcing pressure. I think he was like second in the league in interior pressures this year, and, that's pretty good. Tony Romo said it on the broadcast, and I totally agreed. And he was saying that Chris Jones should have been put on the outside where Frank Clark was because, we all know Chris Jones used to be a defense or be a end. So put Jones out on defensive end and let him be the one to take advantage of the crappy left tackle instead of Frank Clark, who did nothing.
Yeah, that's also a really good idea and something that I wrote about this week. I thought putting Chris Jones out on the edge is also effective in helping to stop Kevin Stefanski's run scheme, because they did that against the Vikings out of necessity. And Chris Jones actually did really good because his ability to shed blocks and absolutely dominate his opponent helped him cut off Dalvin Cook multiple times in that game. So that was something I wanted to see. We didn't really get to see it today, but that's okay. But yeah, definitely. So let's just go ahead and analyze the offense for today. It's not much to say. Like we said, they were running away with that game. They looked really good. Before Mahomes went down, Mahomes ended 21 of 30 for 255 yards and a touchdown. Chad Henne, 66 yards, 6 of 8. He also had the interception. That was pretty ugly, but oh well, didn't matter. Let's point something out though. And in fact, let me look up the stats here real quick, but I'm going to ask you as I'm looking them up. How many games over 75 rushing yards do you think Clyde Edwards-Helaire has had this year?
3.
3? Okay. Let me look. He has had 1. That was week 1 against Houston. That was 138.
Ooh, for a bonus point, I'll guess the games. Houston, Buffalo, first Denver game.
You would be... it was actually the New Orleans game, the first New Orleans game. I say first as if there was a second, but he ran 138 yards against Houston. He ran 161 yards against Buffalo, and then he ran 79 yards against New Orleans. And also, you did guess the Buffalo one right, but Darrell Williams had 78 yards on 13 carries today. No Mitchell Schwartz. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had Mitchell Schwartz for about 1.5 of those 75 plus yard rushing games. I think most people are kind of surprised by that statistic. I thought the way, and I tweeted this out, and we even had someone of note even like the tweet, Clyde Edwards-Helaire himself. I said, and it's no disrespect to Clyde. Like, I don't want him to hate us. I mean, not that I care, but I feel like the way Darrell Williams played today, he was putting on some bruising runs. And I thought the way he played today showed just how irresponsible it was to pick Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round.
Yeah, Darrell, I said it on Twitter and got a lot of hate for it, but I honestly think that Darrell is just as good, if not better, than Clyde. So Clyde was a stupid pick. But, I hope Clyde comes back and does well next week, because he did really well against Buffalo in the first round. But I still don't like Clyde, and I'm probably still not going to like Clyde, especially when you look at the other rookie running backs in the league. Just going to name a couple names off the top of my head: J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor, Antonio Gibson, James Robinson.
Who wasn't even
That's
drafted.
4 that came off the top of my head. Yeah. How was James Robinson not drafted? Anyway, I digress. But I'm not going to like Clyde. But I thought Darrell had a fantastic game today. I was expecting a lot of Le'Veon. Le'Veon has some experience against the Browns, being a Steeler and all. And Le'Veon really only got on the field for 1 drive, and it was all passing downs, which that's at least how the Chiefs should be using Le'Veon. We don't have the line to – I feel like every week we say the same thing. They're misusing Le'Veon, but whatever. Yeah. We don't have the offensive line to use Le'Veon like he did in Pittsburgh. So you essentially use him as a wide receiver out of the backfield is the best use of Le'Veon. And that's kind of what we did this week. But yeah, I was could not be more impressed with Darrell. Great game.
Yeah, that was one of my big takeaways, was the lack of Le'Veon snaps. It seems like they just, and it could be because Le'Veon's not still healthy from that last game where he got dinged up. But I thought it was strange that Darrell kind of became the number 1 in this game. Le'Veon only got 2 carries, and I think It seems like the coaching staff maybe doesn't trust him. I don't know. That's weird to me because I thought Le'Veon Bell has done a fantastic job this year despite the bad blocking and his ability to make something out of nothing. But whatever. I would like to see him used more in the passing game for sure. I think he's definitely better than Darrell in that department. But they won the game, so I can't complain too much. Tyreek Hill had an amazing day, 8 receptions for 110 yards. And then Travis Kelce, absolutely a monster. 8 receptions for 109 yards. Oh my God, my bomb is going off. Hold on. I'll let you talk about them too while I turn off my bomb going off in the background.
You probably shouldn't say that. But anyway, Travis Kelce, as predicted, had a fantastic game, going with 8 receptions, 109 yards, and a tutty. McCole Hardman had 4 receptions for 58 yards. Darrell Williams out of the backfield had 4 receptions for 16 yards. Byron Pringle got in there with 2 receptions for 14 yards. And Demarcus Robinson had a reception for 14 yards. But upon further review, it was an incompletion. Yeah, it was an incompletion, but luckily the Chiefs got to the ball or got to the line and snapped it quick enough so that Stefanski couldn't challenge it.
I saw a lot of people saying that the refs bailed out the Chiefs. Look, the ref is just making the call that they see on the field. The Browns had the opportunity to challenge that, and they didn't, okay? And don't tell me that, it would have been a stupid challenge because Stefanski had an absolutely horrible challenge later in the game on Tyreek Hill's catch that was clearly a catch and was wasting everyone's time.
Hey, burned a timeout. I was cool.
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
Tyreek Hill, dude. Tyreek Hill isn't human.
Oh, yeah, by the way, I wanted to point out Byron Pringle.
That catch.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just pointing out how insane that catch was that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, no, it was. It takes insane concentration to make a catch like that. But I just wanted to point out Byron Pringle. I know he only had 2 catches today for 14 yards, but he's someone that me and you weren't very high on, but I gotta say, the dude stepped up whenever they needed him to this season.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of stay on the thing that I've been harping on for Pringle for feels like weeks now. And I think that his role on the team should be kick and punt returner and emergency receiver.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Definitely. I'm just impressed with the way he's been able to step up, especially in the absence of Sammy Watkins, because really he's a similar player to Sammy Watkins in a lot of ways. They both got decent speed. They're both pretty decent route runners. They're kind of similar in build and demeanor. They're pretty similar players. Of course, Watkins is more talented, but I think a lot of people see that comparison. I got to say, though, thank the heavens, McCole Hardman made a fair catch when he was supposed to today.
I know, hell is frozen over. McCole Hardman being smart returning the football? That's never happened.
Not at all. Not at all. I just had to shout him out on that. But yeah, I mean, that's all that there really is to say about the offense. I thought we looked pretty good until Mahomes went down. It's as simple as that. Although that one Chad Henne interception kind of was demoralizing, I thought right then and there we lost the game, honestly, because Travis Kelce made an amazing play on, I think it was like 3rd down or something, to get us all the way down to somewhere on the other half of the field. I don't know. But I was like, oh my God, I love Kelce. Here we go. We're actually going to be able to put this game away. Oh, no, Chad Henne interception. And I have no idea what he was looking at on that throw either.
Dude, it was an arm punt.
Yeah.
Carl Joseph just stood in the end zone.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the hell he was doing there. And also overall, like, it doesn't matter. And what that last play of the game, or not the last play, but the last first down or whatever, it wasn't even a first down. The play that put us at 4th and inches, that one Chad Henne run. Holy cow, dude. That was amazing. That's Chad Henne, dude. But other than that, I don't know why Chad Henne's our backup quarterback. I'm not sure why Matt Moore wouldn't be the guy there, especially since he proved himself last offseason, but whatever.
Name me one other Michigan quarterback that could have made that play. you can't do it.
Okay. Moving on. Defense.
Wins championships.
So the defense actually played pretty well besides a couple of heart attack moments. They held the Browns to 308 total yards of offense, 196 passing yards only, and 112 on the ground allowed. The Browns were only 6 of 13 on third down, although they were 3 of 3 on fourth down, which kind of pissed me off, but whatever. Baker Mayfield, pretty pedestrian stat line, 204 yards, 1 TD, and 1 interception. That interception by Tyrann Mathieu, dude. That's why I wore his jersey today. I love the dude. Honey Badger, although it really sucks that we couldn't even capitalize on that turnover. Harrison Butker missed the field goal, so that kind of pissed me off too. But, oh well. Besides, what we've already complained about, like Frank Clark, nothing else on the defense really upset me. Same story with Ward. I thought most of the guys on the defense had a really good day. And shout out Anthony Hitchens, who had a good game today as well and has just had an amazing season overall and exceeded my expectations this year as well.
If there was one player that stood out to me on defense, I don't think he really showed up in the box score, but he was everywhere. It was L'Jarius Sneed, dude.
Yes.
That kid is special.
And his blitzing ability is second to none. I thought Tyrann was the best blitzer on the team, and he's been able to blitz very effectively in the past. But L'Jarius Sneed might be better, and that's saying something.
Yeah, dude. I felt like Sneed was around every play.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Sneed. That was a hell of a pick by Veach. And that was another thing I tweeted out earlier this week. I don't understand how L'Jarius Sneed was a 4th rounder only. I mean, this was someone who had a pretty solid career at Louisiana Tech, graded out as the number 1 athlete among cornerbacks, has experience at cornerback and safety. He's just the perfect fit for this team and a great player. I'm glad we have him.
You answered your question in there. Has there ever been another good player from Louisiana Tech? I can't think of any.
No, I really can't. I'm sure.
Watch,
there's probably a huge legend that we're not thinking of that came from there, and someone's going to add us on Twitter and be like, I can't believe you forgot this guy.
I mean, if we do, we do. We move. Oh, and something I want to point out. Dirty Dan Sorensen made a fantastic play that had everyone on Twitter crying. We can talk about this for a while if you want.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said here. All right. So my initial thoughts of the play is the first thing I thought was, wow, that's a good ass hit. And then we got the ball back. Granted, I'm not crazy about the rule that if the ball gets fumbled into the end zone, it's a touchback. But hey, I'm not going to complain. That's the rule. But people were complaining that it was a helmet-to-helmet hit. But the fact of the matter is, Higgins was diving for the pylon. What was Danny supposed to do? He dove for the ball to try to prevent it from breaking the line. And that's exactly what he did. He did his job. He's a football player, and he made a great play. And people are going to whine and moan about it on Twitter about how the refs are giving games to Kansas City, but they can whine all they want. It was a good play.
Dirty Dan is clutch. All right. No, but I completely agree. I thought it was a stupid thing to complain about. Oh my God, there was a little bit of helmet to helmet it wasn't even egregious or anything. In fact, I even got into an argument with someone who was like, dirty garbage hit. I can't believe he did that. He should be out. Are you kidding me? I mean, maybe a misexecution by Dan Sorensen to an extent, but dirty hit. Come on. Are you kidding me? But helmet to helmet is something that happens all the time, like when the receiver lowers their head trying to plow for a first down. It's just like helmets will touch each other. That's something that happens in the game. What the NFL doesn't want is just that huge hit with the crown of the helmet on someone that is dangerous to the game. Yeah, it is. But Dirty Dan didn't do that. Dan did not. It wasn't like, yeah, their helmets touched on the play and there was a little bit of contact there, but it's not like it's not something the ref is going to pick up on unless it's super obvious,
Yeah, it just happens in football.
Yeah.
That's If you don't like it, get out. That's just how it is. These are grown men. Yeah, their helmets are going to touch. Boo hoo. If you want to whine about uh, the fact that we got possession after it rolled out of the end zone, that's one thing. Take that up with the NFLPA. But calling our players dirty, especially after what Mac Wilson pulled, which no one's really calling it dirty, but personally I thought it was dirty. No, you can't do that.
I don't think Mac Wilson, was trying to hurt Mahomes, but you have to know better, Like it's one of those things that I'm not saying it was intentional, but the way you did that, like it was dirty. Like it was probably instinct for him to do that, which it just can't be, But
When you grab someone kind of like by the collar and then pull them into the ground and their head hits the ground first, I mean, like, yeah, that's a tackle and all. And I don't think it should have been flagged for it, but it seems pretty scummy to me. Because they said that it was more so Patrick being choked out than a concussion. So if you're in a scenario where you're choking a dude out, like you're doing something wrong. You can tackle someone without choking him out. You can lay a big hit or you can just have a standard tackle. You shouldn't have to choke him out.
right. Another thing I wanted to talk about was Kareem Hunt, his homecoming today. Only 6 carries for 32 yards. He had the touchdown, which the Browns gifted to him because he wanted him to get that little revenge touchdown. He did the sleeping celebration, and I both loved it and hated it at the same time. Like, if I'm a Browns fan, I love it. If I'm just a Kareem Hunt truther, I love it. But if I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm like, you can't do that, dude. It's really odd to me how Kareem tried to make this like a personal game for him when it's like, dude, you're not on the team anymore because of what you did. So don't give me that. But Kareem, there was one on the last Browns offensive drive where Kareem bobbled the catch and then was met by, I think it was Sorensen, and was tackled out of bounds. I was fired up, dude. I was like, yes, Kareem, get on the ground and stay on the ground. Don't get up. You are not wanted in Kansas City, dude. You are not taking this game from us.
I remember I think it was against the Redskins. I was at the game where Kareem first did the sleeping celebration. And at the time, it was, the coolest thing ever. We got this superstar running back with all the potential in the world. And then, everything that happened. And to see him come back to Kansas City and do it in a uniform other than the Chiefs just made my blood boil, dude. I loved Kareem so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I just felt kind of disrespected by it. And yeah, it pissed me off to no end, dude. And I think the Browns' strategy was very, very intentional with how they used Kareem Hunt. He didn't get many touches, but that's not necessarily his fault. They very clearly had him had the game plan for him to be almost the closing pitcher.
Yeah.
Chubb gets carries on first and second down, but the Browns always bring Kareem Hunt on third down, and that's the most underrated part of their offense because Kareem Hunt is an elite pass catcher and an elite runner. Chubb is one of those kind of downhill thumper guys.
Yes.
He doesn't have a neck, so he can't really turn around for a pass, right? But Kareem Hunt can do anything you want him to. So he is literally the perfect third down back. And if you hit him on a screen pass, you're getting the first down. And I've watched a lot of Browns games because I don't like the Browns. And it's so frustrating because they'll get him on like 3rd and 16 and Baker will hit Kareem out of the backfield and he'll take it up and get the first down. Thankfully, that didn't happen. The play that you brought up with him bobbling the ball, I think that was one of the ones that they were trying to do. I don't know why Kareem bobbled it, but he did, and I'm glad he did. And I believe the person who made that tackle wasn't Sorensen, but was actually Ward. So maybe Ward's a better linebacker than corner. But
once we
got to the fourth quarter, Kareem got a lot of carries.
Yeah, there was multiple people in on that tackle. I just thought I remembered Dan being the first one, but you could be right. But either way, it was good to see. That last play that Andy called, though, the Henny to Hill pass, I said this to you before we started recording, but Tony Romo said on the broadcast, like, oh, I think they're just going to try to get him to jump off sides, and then maybe they'll call a timeout, think this over, probably call a QB sneak, something like that. And I agreed with him. I was like, yeah, that's probably what they're going to do. Then Henny took the snap, and I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing? I did not expect them to take the snap. And then he took the snap, and he threw it to Hill, and I'm like, oh my God, oh, he got it. Yes, we won the game. Oh my God, what a gutsy call by Reed, dude. Like, if Hill had dropped that, or like Henny had botched the pass, I would have called for Reed's head.
Yeah. Dude, I was really confused when we came out there because I thought we were going to punt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, we're going to punt. Defense wins championships. Defense is going to have to step up and finish the game. You know, I was expecting like to get Baker on like a 4th and 23, and then Frank Clark would get a coverage sack and be hailed as the hero.
The closer, the shark.
Anyway, but when I saw that Chad Henne was staying on the field, I'm like, okay, QB sneak, game over, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw that he wasn't under center. And I'm like, what are you doing, Andy? And then Tony's like, oh, so they're just going to try to get the Browns offsides. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I guess, but I'd rather you be under center to try to get them offsides because I feel like they're more apt to jump offsides if you're under center, right? But then when I thought it was like a false start on Ryder when he initially snapped the ball, and when he hit Hill on the right, I ran down my hall screaming. I mean, I think I can play it, but I recorded like one of the first things I said after it was completed. Hold on.
Are you playing the recording?
Anything is possible, baby. Whoa! Yeah, that was my reaction after Henny hit Hill for the first down. But yeah, it was wild, dude. This seems more like a Doug Peterson call than an Andy Reid call, honestly.
Dude, I cannot get over the fact that you said you thought it was a false start on Austin Ryder on the last play.
I did.
It's such a predictable thing, too.
Oh man.
But let's talk about the big talking point coming out of this game. Is Patrick Mahomes going to be healthy? So Andy Reid said after the game, Mahomes got hit in the back of the head and got the wind knocked out of him, said that he feels great, and that they never actually used the word concussion in conversation, which to me, I guess that's, good news, but it also makes me question why they ruled him out with a concussion then, because then you force Mahomes to go through concussion protocol. And even if Mahomes says he feels good, if he doesn't pass that concussion protocol, well, then he can't play, But whatever, I think he'll be okay. It's anyone's bet, really. And then they said the same with Bashaud Breeland, that they wouldn't really call his a concussion either, which, again, I guess best case scenario,
My question is, why wasn't he out there? And I feel like it might be a different story if we had lost that game. I feel like Andy would have been like, oh, yeah, it was the worst concussion we'd ever seen to justify not playing him and losing the game.
Yeah.
But that we won, he's just like, well, yeah, he feels great. He should be good to go. And, they said that his symptom was more being choked out than a concussion.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, that can get you lightheaded and dizzy, but Patrick ran to the locker room under his own power, and I'm sure he was under concussion protocol, and I heard that he tried to get back out there, and, I mean, if his leg was broken, he'd try to get back out there just because he's that much of a competitive guy.
Dude, he wanted to go back out there after dislocating his knee in the Broncos game.
Yeah, he's a competitor. Geez, sounds like I'm talking about Tom Brady. Anyway, but all signs point to him being good. I was really scared because I know concussion protocol usually takes you out the remainder of the game, and then the next week, think back to when Alex got a concussion against the Colts and Nick Foles had to start the next week against the Jaguars
Yeah.
in the famous Kelsey throwing his towel game. Uh, but it sounds like Patrick should be good to go for the AFC Championship. And let's be real, he's the biggest name in football, playing in a very important playoff game that a lot of people are going to watch. If the NFL is ever going to fudge the rules with concussion protocol slightly, it's going to be now.
Yeah, I think Mahomes will be fine, and I think at that because at that point when he came out of the game, he already had the hurt toe that was clearly bothering him, and then on top of that, you just had him, wobbling on the field. Like I think at that point, Reed was like, "Let's just try to keep him safe and escape with the win."
And luckily, we did.
Yeah. Although, where was Frank the Shark, the closer, Clark today? Where was he?
I told you about this before we started recording, but I just wanted to share on air. He blocked me on Twitter.
Again?
So I was on the Show Me Football Twitter. You might have noticed us under the post because I was throwing shade because, I have to, in his comments. And one of the comments that I saw, you have your casual Chiefs boomers that's like, great job, Frank, the shark, with a bunch of like blood drop and shark emojis and just crap like that. But I loved a comment that I saw that just said, when are you going to be back?
I love
It
Chiefs.
sounds so innocent, but so much shade. I loved it.
Oh gosh, I forgot I was going to bring something up real quick. Oh yeah. One thing I wanted to touch on before we wrap up. So Tyreek Hill pushed, I think it was the receivers coach on the sideline, and everyone was like, oh my God, Tyreek Hill being violent. Oh my God, who could have seen this coming? Tyreek Hill pushed his coach on the sideline. This is good. They were joking around. I just wanted to clear that up. Not that we have a national audience, but they were clearly joking on the sidelines, and Tyreek even tweeted at the game no, I love him like an uncle. We were just playing around. I just wanted to clear that up.
I think they were laughing while they did it.
Yeah, they were. The broadcast showed it, and conveniently all the blue check marks who like to point that stuff out conveniently left the part about the coach laughing it off seconds later. But whatever. Media gonna media.
They're always looking for some way to slander Tyreek. It sucks.
Yep. So the Chiefs will take on the Bills and host the third AFC Championship game in a row. No team has done that in NFL history. It'll be an interesting game, and also the general public is already giving the Chiefs bulletin material because the Buffalo Bills are 1.5 point favorites for this game.
Is that assuming we have or don't have Mahomes?
Good question. But either way, I feel pretty confident, and it's saying a lot.
Because that Buffalo Baltimore game, they didn't look that great,
No.
and we looked really, really good before Mahomes got hurt. So, assuming we get playoff Sammy and Willie Gay, we should win this easily, dude.
Yes, the Willie Gay edition will be huge, assuming we get him back. I really hope they do. And Rashad Benton, too. Anything to get Ward less snaps, but...
Oh, man, he's a complete...
I'm sorry. And all due respect to DeAndre Baker, I take DeAndre Baker with a snapped femur over Charvarius Ward.
I didn't do it, but I was considering DMing Ward and asking him if he could donate his femur to DeAndre Baker.
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm sure we'll be back next week talking about the same things after a 5-point game. So, that's all I got for today.
Here's my prediction. Here's my prediction for next week. I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to say the Chiefs take off or have an early lead. It's going to look good going into half. And then the Bills are going to make it close and give us a heart attack without the Bills ever actually having a lead. And I also predict that Frank Clark isn't going to do anything. That's my prediction.
Really going out on a limb. All right, folks, you heard it all. You'll catch us sometime this week. Probably be previewing the Buffalo game. But that's all I got for today. Anything else you wanted to throw in at the end?
Nope. Except if there's any more blood in the water.
Okay. Yep, we're done. Peace, everybody. Go to www.showmefootball.com for more. Peace.